dropping by, but we have the press is responding to some of the things that the government has been saying today about the refugee crisis. I think we should never forget really the human stories that are at the heart of what is happening really across the region, certainly through Turkey, across Europe as well. And having been to Lesbos and having watched from the northern shore the boats come across, having stood and you look along the shoreline and see a bright orange all along the Lesbos coast, with the mountains of life jackets that are piled up for people who have come across on really flimsy dinghies. And what really breaks your heart is as you walk through these mountains of life jackets is to see the armbands and the children's swim jackets, the kind of thing that you might put your child into a swimming pool wearing, and yet that's what children are being given by smugglers in order to make a perilous crossing across the Mediterranean Sea. And to remember too is talking to some of the aid workers in Lesbos who had been working with some of the families who'd been on boats that had gone down, and one child who had lost her sister, I think had drowned, and had been doing some pencil drawings. She showed me, the aid worker showed me some of the pencil drawings that this child had done. There was one picture which was just heartbreaking of a picture of a boat and a child in the water. But actually what was even more heartbreaking was the second picture that she showed me, which was of what they had left behind, which was of bombs falling on people, and people in just a children's cartoon, people with their heads being cut off and blood everywhere. And that was the experience of a child fleeing from persecution in Syria, fleeing through Turkey, fleeing across the water to Greece, and then having lost family on the journey as well. And I think we should never lose sight of those human stories which are at the heart of what people describe as a refugee crisis now. Look, it's a huge challenge about how we respond, but we also know it is possible to respond. The number of people arriving in Europe last year was around 1 million. That is 0.2% of Europe's population, but it does create huge challenges when it's concentrated in particular countries, when different countries don't have the systems in place to respond, to be able to do asylum checks, to be able to register people, to be able to assess whether people are refugees in fleeing from conflict or whether they have safe homes that they need to return to. It's hugely important that we have a partnership between Europe and Turkey as part of addressing this. We know that Turkey has provided sanctuary already for so many people, so many more people than Europe has done, who have been fleeing persecution on conflict in Syria, but also seeing those who have travelled from Afghanistan and from other countries as well. And it is that partnership working that will be critical, both to preventing the smugglers' gangs who are exploiting people's desperation, to preventing people making dangerous journeys in the first place, but also making sure those who are fleeing conflict get the sanctuary and the humanitarian support that they need as well. And I think it's the sort of final thought. I've talked before about the need, I think, to have both border checks and controls to manage the crisis, and also a system of countries being able to give sanctuary and humanitarian aid as well. But the lesson to us all is that you cannot solve this simply by individual countries operating alone at a time when we know that this is a cross-border crisis, and therefore it is only working in partnership across borders that we will be able to come up with